So the MBA aspect of it is something I've always like, that has been a dream of mine ever since the start. Even when I was doing engineering back in India, I always wanted to get a business degree at the end of the day. But initially I was in the plans of doing it in India itself, like write CAT or like all of that, and like go through the Indian MBA aspect of it. So then like you know it, I was in Deloitte back then, and that was a time when I actually ended up like moving companies to Google, and I decided that I would want to keep my job at Google and like continue for like a year or two and like get a better experience. So by the end of my Google time, it has been like overall 5 years of work experience that I've had. So it kind of made more sense for me to use the two different kinds of companies experience and like kind of go out of India, because the typical average Indian MBA's work experience is like 2 to 3 years. By then I already had like more than 5
Right.
years. So I kind of wanted to like not lose that and get back, like use the maximize it
Yeah.
in the best way possible. So which is when I kind of started looking out like outside of India from an MBA standpoint. Like the Europe aspect of it or like the LBS aspect of it is something I totally agree. It is a really strong MBA, and what attracted me to LBS particularly was one, with the whole flexible MBA aspect of it. Like you could finish it in 15 or 18 or 21 months. So, and which basically gives you the fulfillment of a 2-year MBA where you can do an internship, but at the same time the flexibility of like a 1-year MBA where if you really want to like leave out sooner, you can always do that. So that's one thing. And back when I was coming to an MBA, I wasn't sure if I wanted to be really open from my post MBA like work experience standpoint. Like I was coming from a tech background, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to like continue out there, and I wanted to go to like an MBA or like a school which basically gives me that option from a location standpoint is not really constraining. For example, I didn't want to go like London per se gives you like it is the tech hub, it is the financial hub, it is the consulting hub. So anything and everything you really want to explore in your 2 years, you can do it here. Like, which is one of the other reasons like I was like, compelled in the London aspect of it. That's a bigger illusion that people have, that everybody in a tech firm works on the technical aspects of it. It's like oh yeah, you froze for a second. So it's like not everybody is an engineer at the tech firm. Like even at Google, Facebook, Amazon, any of these companies, you work on different business aspects of it. Like even within Google, there are like people who are working on analytics per se, like me. There are like people who are working on the engineering aspects of it, and the people who are working actually on the business operations or the ops side of it, the biz ops side of it. So I kind of feel if you go for an MBA, you can always come back and you can like blend yourself into the biz ops side of it, or like the consulting part of it, like the analytical consultants and all of these guys. So I don't think you being in a technology firm should like stop you from like doing a business education, because two things is something I felt when I was doing like considering going for an MBA. One is it's not about like where your career is right now. It's about like where they can go like 10 years from now, 15 years from now. If you really want to break that glass ceiling, or if you really want to like be at that table which takes the decisions 15 years from now from your career, you really need to know the business aspects of how a company is run, or even how like a team is run. So if you really want to be there like 10 years from now, you need to know the aspects. But that being said, it can be achieved through an MBA. It can be achieved through like life experiences. It's not the singular line of thought that you should give it. But I don't think like you being in a tech firm right now should stop you from getting an MBA if you really want to. First thing. Second thing, even right now, like even in the short term aspects, I wanted to move away from purely analytical to a like an like overall experience kind of a job. Like post MBA, I wanted to move into a very, if not the strategy driven, but more like a broader aspect of decision making, which is why I thought like even right now, even if I was sticking into the technology aspect of it, I wanted to like get an MBA. most exciting aspect of this program is the student body. Like people come from like 30 different countries, and like 80% of my LBS batch is international. So like even coming from companies which have like a very strong international presence, and even after interacting with people from around the world, it's a different experience where you're in a single room, in a single study group with like people from 6 different countries, and not just ethnicity, from different kinds of work experiences, and like you trying to solve a very basic example which all of you are new to, is something that I kind of feel like very much a international MBA experience, irrespective of where you go to MBA. Like as long as you do it in Europe or America, I kind of feel like that's a very unique international MBA experience, and that has been the highlight of my MBA at LBS for me at least. So the clubs thing is I am going to give you a politically correct answer, because I kind of feel everybody is going to claim that their clubs are the most fun aspect of it. The student life is a bit different for me here than what has been for my graduate life at least, or like the other people, let's say Cambridge or Oxford, any of the other INSEAD kind of European schools, because here you don't have like a hostel kind of a system. You go to your campus and then you just go back to wherever you live. So like my friends and my classmates are spread all across London. So it's pretty much like how I had while I was like working. You go, you finish your classes, and then like you decide to stick around with like multiple people and like you have fun. But it's not like everybody is like pushed to have fun because you live in the same hostel, if you understand like the difference aspect. So that is different, I think, like which is very peculiar to LBS and compared to like, let's say, the other UK or European MBAs, where there is a hostel life. So like you're stuck with people at the end of the day. But that being said, LBS student body makes sure that like nothing is being left out. I think that we have something called Sundowners, where basically every alternate Thursday, or like sometimes every Thursday, it's like student body sponsored beer, or like kind of a club where one particular one club actually organizes it and sponsors it every week. So it can be volunteers club, it can be women in business, it can be rugby club, it can be like tech and media club, like around the world. So these guys, it's their job to organize that beer gathering, the Sundowners aspect of it, every Thursday or every Friday. And basically that's like your way to make sure that you're like kind of winding out of the week with your classmates, and it's free, anybody can go, and your partners are welcome. So it's literally free drinks on the campus grounds for you to interact with people. Few of the really good courses which I kind of feel are specific to LBS, and something that I've like you can only get it from a classroom standpoint. One of them is something called managing corporate turnarounds. It is really interesting for me because I've never been in that kind of an environment. Like I was coming from a tech background, I was coming from an analytics background. So like looking at how companies actually file for bankruptcy, and like why do they go through bankruptcy and how do they get out of it, more from a noob standpoint, like looking at it like from somebody who has zero context as to what's happening, and like learning about it was something really interesting. And the professors were like wonderful. He is like a tenured professor, has been with LBS for like quite some time. So that's one thing. And another thing I really like is something called digital strategy, which I think they've introduced like a year or two back. It's basically talking about all of these tech firms and how are these how are their strategies different from like the traditional companies and their strategies. So basically we talked about Airbnb, we talked about Uber, we talked about I think Google and these companies, basically like because there is a very strong customer aspect of it, like the digital aspect of it. Like you can't just be like present offline, you need to be present online and make sure that your strategy is spread across. So that's something I really liked from a class standpoint. I'm doing currently something called supply chain management, which I kind of feel is really useful for me when I go back to Amazon. but also from like normal aspects. That is something also like I really am enjoying. So the class is divided into like a simulation standpoint where you are grouped with a couple of people and you're given a task or a simulation you to run. Basically, you're doing this virtual factory which you need to run, and you need to manage how exactly is your supply chain, like efficiencies and all of that. So it's a very practical aspect of learning where the risk is almost zero because it's a simulation, you can't really lose at it. But that class is really fun. I'm doing it like right now, it's going on. So these are the like
Right.
top few classes I could remember right now, which are like from an elective standpoint and not the core courses which everybody's supposed to do. Placement aspect of it, like at least in India, you are used to the whole on-campus kind of placements. So that is something which is absolutely not true here. There are placement committees which do help you, but it's like only 30% of the effort. The rest of the 70% which will actually land you will be something which need to be done from your end. So as an Indian or any kind of an MBA student, they should make sure that day one onwards they are like networking, and not networking in the very stymie sense of like what we have in our head sometimes. It's like, interact with people. If there is a company that you're really interested in going, talk, like figure out who are the alumni who are there like 5 years, 10 years from now. Ping them on LinkedIn, like, or ping them on their email ID. You can generally get their email ID from the alumni network or database, like, and like strike a conversation with them and understand like why did they choose like a company that they went to, what are the challenges that the company is there, and how you could fit in yourself. So when you actually are applying, that you already have a clearer idea as to like why you need to be applying there, rather than just like because everybody is doing it. And also like it'll give you an edge at the end of the day. So that's one thing. Second thing, it's completely fine not having an end goal when you enter into an MBA. A lot of these people, including me at one point, you're like, oh, you need to get your life figured out and you need to know why you're doing what you're doing, which is totally fine. The other good thing about here is you can sit for all different kinds of placements. There is no such thing as day zero placement. There is no such thing as if you have a job, you can't sit for like any other company. You can't like sit for multiple. So you can sit for finance, you can sit for tech, you can sit for consulting. So if you really want to explore, this is your chance because you have nothing to lose. You are here, you've paid your fees. Irrespective of how badly you do, you are still going to get out of it with a job. So like, you don't need to not explore because like that's not the traditional aspect of it. The people who are interested in going into consulting, make sure, and irrespective of it, I think the kind of case studies that at least here people ask, I've been asked for my Amazon interview, I've been asked for my Google interview here. So irrespective of tech or consulting, I kind of feel that you need to know your case studies well. So if you have already gotten into any kind of MBA, in the few months that you have between you've accepted your MBA versus you actually joining, at least know how case studies are done. Because you generally join your MBA sometime in August or September-ish, depending on where you're going, and your placement start in October, November. So there's especially for internships, so you have like literally 3 or 4 months maximum for you to get prepared. And in the kind of overwhelming new life that you just got, you're like busy partying, you're busy like learning how to balance like 5 different courses, 50 different courses. You'll not have the time or the mental strength to actually sit then and like practice your different case studies. So if you really are into consulting, like do it before you come to an MBA. That's something I wish somebody told me. So I'm telling it to like other set of people who are coming in.
Mail us your resume now if you're looking for such career transformations. If you appreciate our video, then like and share it and subscribe to our channel to know more about life at top MBA programs.